Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. In the Nalgonda district of Telangana, India, there was a wealthy family living in a small village called Mutti Redikunta. However, on January 30th, 2018, the head of the household, Tirunagaru Maruthi Rao, was not at home. He had actually traveled to Hyderabad, the capital city of Telangana, for some work, while his wife, Girjarani, was asleep at home. Maruthi Rao, a millionaire, had also established a school in his daughter Amrutha's name on their property. On that particular day, none of the servants who worked at the school or in their home were present. Taking advantage of this opportunity on the night of January 13th, Maruthi Rao's daughter, Amrutha Varshini, called her boyfriend and asked him to meet her outside her house. By the time Amrutha's boyfriend, Pranay Perumala, arrived outside her house with his car, Amrutha had already packed her belongings. Pranay then picked her up and the two of them traveled 92 miles over the course of 3 hours to reach Hyderabad, the capital of Telangana. There they got married at an Arya Samaj temple in a locality called Lakshmi Nagar. In India, if a man is at least 21 years old and a woman is at least 18, they can legally marry in a temple without their parents' consent. If both belong to the Hindu religion, they can marry under the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, but they must later register their marriage legally. However, if the couple belongs to different religions, they must marry under the Special Marriage Act of 1954, which requires a 30-day notice period. To get married in a temple, the couple must provide valid identification, age verification documents, and 2 witnesses. While some temples issue marriage certificates, these are not legally valid without government registration. If a couple faces threats, they can seek police protection or legal assistance. Pranay and Amrutha would also have to face such threats, but at that point neither of their families had any clue about their marriage. However, when Amrutha's family realized she was not at home, Maruthi Rao went to a nearby police station and filed a missing person complaint for his daughter. In his complaint, he also accused Pranay of kidnapping Amrutha. But there was a specific reason why Maruthi Rao suspected Pranay, which will be revealed later in this video. Following his complaint, the Telangana police began searching for Amrutha and Pranay. The investigation lasted for a few weeks before the police eventually found them and brought them back to their village. During questioning, Amrutha told the police that they were not minors. Both were of legal marriageable age, and they had eloped and married of their own free will without anyone forcing them. However, during that interrogation, Amrutha made a bold statement, declaring that she wanted to stay with her husband, Pranay, rather than return to her father, Maruthi Rao's house. She asserted that they had the right to live together wherever they wanted. Following this, Pranay took Amrutha to his home, which was not far from hers. However, even there, the couple faced initial resistance, as Pranay's parents also disapproved of the marriage, given that they had eloped. His parents even tried to send Amrutha back to her home, but in response, she told her in-laws that she could not live without Pranay. She warned them that if they pressured her too much, she would end her life. After hearing this, Pranay's parents had no choice but to accept Amrutha as their daughter-in-law. However, during this time, Pranay also revealed to his parents that Amrutha was 4 months pregnant, which further compelled them to accept her. Eventually, Pranay's father, Balaswamy, and mother, Hemalata, wholeheartedly embraced the couple. On August 17, 2018, Pranay's parents hosted a grand wedding reception for their son and daughter-in-law. They invited numerous relatives to the event, and before the reception, the newlywed couple even had a pre-wedding photo shoot and video shoot. Since Amrutha was pregnant at the time, she frequently had to visit the hospital for routine checkups. By then, even Pranay's parents were taking care of her, responsibly accompanying her to the hospital. However, in September 2018, Amrutha's health started deteriorating, and on September 14, 2018, Pranay, his mother Hemalatha, and Amruta visited Jyoti Hospital near their home for a checkup. Around 1:30 p.m., after completing Amruta's checkup, the three of them were heading back home when an unknown man started following them, holding a weapon in his hand. Within seconds, the man struck Pranay's neck twice with the weapon. The sudden attack from behind left Pranay unable to counter the assault. The attacker did not harm Amruta or Pranay's mother, Hemalatha. However, the two fatal blows to Pranay's neck caused excessive blood loss, and upon seeing the blood, Amruta immediately fainted. The killer quickly fled the crime scene on a scooter. Meanwhile, a bystander checked Pranay's pulse and breathing. Shortly after, the bystander called the police, reporting, "A man has just been murdered outside Jyoti Hospital. Please arrive at the scene immediately." Yes, you heard that right. Pranay succumbed to the attack on the spot, and as a result, no one attempted to take his body to the hospital. Meanwhile, the unconscious Amruta was admitted to the hospital. Since the attacker had targeted only Pranay, despite him never having conflicts with anyone, Pranay's parents directly accused Amruta's father, Tirunagaru Maruthi Rao, of orchestrating their son's murder. Since the attack took place in broad daylight outside a major hospital, the case quickly went viral on news and social media. CCTV footage of the incident also surfaced, clearly showing the unknown man attacking Pranay. In response, supporters of certain depressed classes leagues, some politicians, and the general public rallied behind Pranay's family. The next day, September 15th, the entire village of Muthi Reddy Kunta was shut down. Additionally, people took to the streets, demanding the swift arrest of Pranay's killers. Some even gathered outside local police stations, questioning law enforcement about the growing fearlessness of criminals. As pressure mounted on the Telangana police, they swiftly formed multiple investigation teams. Even the superintendent of police for Nalgonda district, where Muthi Reddy Kunta village was located, personally took charge of the Pranay murder case investigation. After this, the police first interrogated Pranay's family. However, throughout the questioning, Pranay's father, Balaswamy, and mother, Hemalatha, insisted that Amruta's father, Maruthi Rao, was behind their son's murder. Meanwhile, Pranay's wife, Amruta Varshini, regained consciousness 2 days after Pranay's murder on September 16, 2018. But while she was still in the hospital, the police informed her that her husband, Pranay, had passed away. Upon hearing this, Amruta completely broke down and began crying uncontrollably. Her grief was so profound that even Pranay's parents could not console her. However, after some time, she was somehow calmed down, and she too told the police that she suspected her father, Maruthi Rao, had orchestrated her husband, Pranay Perumala's murder. In addition to this, Amruta also accused her uncle, Shravan Rao, of being involved in Pranay's murder. In fact, before her marriage, both her father and uncle had placed many restrictions on her. However, Amruta and Pranay's love story began when they both studied at the well-known Kakataya Concept School in their locality. When Amruta was in the 9th grade, Pranay was in a senior class. Since they studied at the same school, they quickly became friends because they lived in the same neighborhood and were already familiar with each other. They shared a strong bond during school, and at that time neither Amruta's nor Pranay's parents knew about it. However, after completing her schooling, Amruta moved to Hyderabad, the capital city of Telangana, for higher education. There, she pursued a bachelor's degree in technology at the International Institute of Fashion Designing. A Bachelor of Technology degree focuses on the technical and practical aspects of engineering and technology and is typically completed in 4 years. During that time, Pranay also moved to Hyderabad to continue his studies. He enrolled at the Srinidhi Institute of Science and Technology to study engineering. Both of them had left their small locality and moved far away to an unfamiliar city. However, for a long time, neither of them realized that they were in the same city. But one day they found out they were both in Hyderabad, so they planned to meet again. When Pranay and Amrutha met after several months since their school days, they had a long conversation. After this first meeting, they started meeting frequently, and their friendship deepened even further. Over time, their friendship turned into attraction, and that attraction eventually blossomed into love. However, after some time, their families found out about their relationship. Both families opposed their union because Amrutha's parents wanted her to marry a groom of their choice. On the other hand, Pranay's family also did not approve of the relationship. Despite this, Amrutha and Pranay ignored their family's objections and continued to meet as before. As the new year of 2017 arrived, their relationship grew even stronger. But by then, Amrutha's father had learned about it, which greatly troubled Maruthi Rao. Now, Amrutha's father tells his daughter to leave her studies and return home from Hyderabad. Amrutha returns home and her father starts looking for a groom for her, as she had also reached the age of marriage. However, Amrutha soon learns about this, and in the last week of January 2018, she tries to contact Pranay again. Over the phone, Amrutha tells Pranay, "I don't want to marry anyone else. I only want to marry you. If that doesn't happen, I will take my own life." Hearing this, Pranay has no choice but to agree, and the two of them plan to elope and get married. What happened next, how Amrutha ran away from home, and where and how they got married, was already discussed at the beginning of the video. Amrutha's father, Tirunagaru Maruthi Rao, was a well-known real estate developer and businessman in his district. However, in 1993, he started his career with a small ration shop. Gradually, he came into contact with some prominent politicians and businessmen in the city, and with their help, he used his savings and some funding to start his own real estate business. Over his career, Maruthi Rao built and sold thousands of residences. Additionally, he owned several acres of vacant land, some of which were agricultural. He also developed a few shopping malls. Over his 25-year career, Maruthi Rao amassed wealth worth 200 crore Indian rupees. When converted to US dollars at today's exchange rate, this amounts to $23,169,628. However, Maruthi Rao was also entangled in several court cases related to land fraud. There were even allegations that he had acquired some properties under the names of some close relatives and trusted employees, without them having any knowledge of it. Despite everything, Maruthi Rao was very attached to his daughter, Amrutha. He even opened a school under her name on the top 2 floors of their house. However, when Pranay entered Amrutha's life, tensions arose between father and daughter. Amrutha's mother, Girja Rani, maintained her relationship with her daughter, but the dark secrets of Maruthi Rao's lavish life started coming to light when, a few days after Pranay's death, Amrutha shared all the terrible experiences she had endured with the media and the police. She revealed that her father and uncle, Shravan Rao, had imposed strict restrictions on her since childhood. From a young age, they had instilled in her that she should not interact with people from other religions or lower castes. On the other hand, Amrutha believed that all people were equal and should be treated as such. Because of this mentality, she befriended Pranay at school. But when Maruthi Rao found out about this friendship, he stopped sending Amrutha to school altogether. Using his contacts, he even arranged for Amrutha to take her exams from home. Once she finished school, Maruthi Rao sent her to Hyderabad for higher education to keep her away from Pranay. However, by coincidence, Pranay was also studying there, and their friendship rekindled. During this time, Maruthi Rao frequently called his daughter to ask if she was still in touch with Pranay, but each time Amrutha lied to her father. But then, in their second year of college, when Amrutha and Pranay get some holidays, they both return to their village and home. One day, they make plans to watch a movie and head to a nearby theater. However, somehow, Amrutha's father, Maruthi Rao, and her uncle, Shravan Rao, find out about it. The 2 Rao brothers then go to the theater and forcibly take Amrutha back home. In an interview with The Quint, an Indian digital news and opinion website, Amrutha later revealed that her uncle had beaten her with dumbbells and sticks.
Discontinued my studies, and my dad's brother met me with the dumbbells and those things. They didn't even allow me to talk even with my cousins.
She was even locked in a room and was not allowed to speak to her cousin siblings. After this incident, Maruthi Rao called Pranay's father, Balaswamy, to his office and warned him, saying, "Keep your son away from my daughter, or something very bad will happen at my hands." After this threat, Pranay's father advised him to stay away, and respecting his father's words, Pranay stopped talking to Amrutha for several days. But when Amrutha found out that her father was planning to marry her off to someone else, she somehow managed to contact Pranay. During their conversation, Amrutha told Pranay, "If I marry, it will be only you, otherwise I will end my life." Hearing this, Pranay had no choice but to agree in order to save Amrutha's life. After this, the two of them ran away and got married. A few months after their wedding, Pranay took a huge risk and brought Amrutha home, and their life was going well. Despite living with Pranay, Amrutha remained in touch with her mother, Girija Rani, as she was the only one in her family who understood her love. During one of their conversations, Amrutha revealed to her mother that she was pregnant and would soon become a mother. However, Girija Rani shared this news with Amrutha's father, Maruthi Rao. Although he did not react immediately, some media reports suggested that he later summoned Pranay and told him, "Leave Amrutha and get her abortion done as soon as possible, and in return you will receive 30 million rupees. But Pranay flatly refused the offer, and when he told Amrutha about it, she also rejected the money her father had offered. Following this conversation, Amrutha and Pranay went to the police, narrated their entire story, and sought protection. A senior police officer spoke to Maruthi Rao and told him, "Your daughter is not a minor, so she has the full right to choose her husband. Please stop interfering in her life." Additionally, the police advised Pranay's family to install CCTV cameras outside their house for security. However, after Pranay Perumala's murder, the police began questioning Maruthi Rao about the events of September 14th. But during the interrogation, Maruthi Rao outright denied orchestrating Pranay's killing. He further stated that he could not have had Pranay murdered because, on September 14th, he was in the Joint Collector's office in Nalgonda district for some important work. Afterward, he met with the district's Deputy Superintendent of Police. Interestingly, when the police cross-checked Maruthi Rao's statements, they all turned out to be true. But as the investigation expanded, the police decided to track Maruthi Rao's call records and location history. During this inquiry, the name of a well-known city transport businessman, Abdul Karim, emerged. As they dug into Abdul Karim's background, the police found another suspect named Asghar Ali. As a matter of fact, Asghar Ali had previously been involved in the murder of a prominent politician. That's why the police now interrogated Maruthi Rao, Abdul Karim, and Asghar Ali together in their own way. During this interrogation, Maruthi Rao broke down after a short while and admitted that he had ordered the murder of Pranay. He then revealed the names of 5 more people involved in the crime. This brought the total number of accused to 8, and by September 18th, the police had arrested 7 of them. The 8 accused included Maruthi Rao at number 1, the hired killer Subhash Kumar Sharma at number 2, Asghar Ali at number 3, Abdul Bari at number 4, Abdul Karim at number 5, Maruthi Rao's younger brother Shravan Rao at number 6, Maruthi Rao's driver Samudrala Shiva at number 7, and a suspect named M.A. Nizam at number 8. Additionally, the second accused, Subhash Sharma, was a resident of Samastipur in the eastern Indian state of Bihar. After committing the murder, he had fled back to his home state, since the distance between Muthareddy Kunta and Samastipur was 1,056 miles and took approximately 30 hours to cover. The police were delayed in capturing him. However, on September 17, 2018, just 3 days after Pranay's murder, Telangana police, with the help of Samastipur police, managed to apprehend Subhash. This was when the full story of how the crime was planned and the motive behind Pranay Perumala's murder came to light. Maruthi Rao had paid a contract fee of 10 million Indian rupees for Pranay's murder, which, based on today's currency rates, amounts to approximately $115,745. First, Maruthi Rao contacted Abdul Karim, who then introduced him to Asghar Ali and Abdul Bari. After that, Abdul Bari and Asghar Ali reached out to Subhash Sharma, a professional contract killer. In fact, Maruthi Rao had started planning Pranay's murder as early as June and July of 2018. They attempted to execute the plan about 4 times during this period, but each time an obstacle prevented them from succeeding. One such incident occurred exactly 1 month before Pranay's murder on August 14, 2018. That day, Pranay was with a friend, and Subhash got confused when he saw 2 young men, unsure which one was his target. As a result, he had to cancel the plan. In this way, there were about 4 different failed attempts to kill Pranay within just 1 month. Finally, on September 13th, Maruthi Rao learned from his wife, Girja Rani, that their daughter was going to Jyoti Hospital for a routine checkup. Even after marrying Pranay, Amrutha continued speaking with her mother, and during one of their conversations, she casually mentioned that she would be visiting the hospital the next day for a checkup. Girja Rani passed this information to her husband, Maruthi Rao, without any ill intentions. She had no idea that he was secretly planning to kill his son-in-law. However, once Maruthi Rao received this information, he immediately shared it with his accomplices. The killers then took advantage of the opportunity and, in broad daylight on September 14th, brutally murdered Pranay. Besides this, the reason behind Pranay's murder was that he belonged to the oppressed Dalit Christian caste and had married Amrutha, a girl from the upper caste Vaishya community. In fact, India's caste system has historically divided people into 4 main groups: Brahmins, who were priests and teachers; Kshatriyas, who were warriors and rulers; Vaishyas, who were merchants and traders; and Shudras, who were laborers and workers. However, outside this system were the Dalits, who were once referred to as untouchables and faced some of the worst discrimination in history. Although this system was originally meant to organize society, over time, caste-based discrimination intensified, particularly during medieval India under some Hindu rulers and later during the Mughal rule. However, the British further reinforced this system by classifying people based on caste for administrative purposes. Because of this, after Pranay and Amrutha's marriage, Maruthi Rao developed the mindset that, as someone from the upper caste Vaishya community, his daughter should not have married a lower caste Dalit Christian. In reality, Maruthi Rao was extremely proud of his caste, and when Amrutha married Pranay, he felt that it was an insult to his honor. To him, their marriage was nothing less than humiliation. When Pranay and Amrutha's pre-wedding video shoot was uploaded on Facebook, it received a lot of views and likes. Seeing this video deeply upset Maruthi Rao, and from that moment he began planning Pranay Perumala's murder. Maruthi Rao was so consumed by his caste pride that he ignored the fact that his daughter was truly happy in this marriage. In an interview with The Quint, Amrutha revealed that her father often told her, "My prestige and status are more important than you and your happiness."
He always used to tell me that our status and prestige is more important than you and your happiness.
Eventually, all the perpetrators were taken into judicial custody, and during the investigation, the police recovered the weapon used in Pranay's murder. Additionally, the police gathered all necessary forensic, technical, and other evidence. During their investigation, they discovered that on September 14th, Maruthi Rao had deliberately visited senior officials in his city to establish an alibi, proving that he was not in the area when Pranay was killed. Generally in India, courts have a 90-day time frame to file a charge sheet in such serious cases. However, in this case, it took the police 9 months to submit the charge sheet. Explaining the delay, the Telangana police stated that it was due to delays in the forensic report. In total, the police investigated 102 people and recorded statements from many of them. Based on the evidence and testimonies, they compiled a 600-page charge sheet, which was submitted to the Special SC and ST Court in Nalgonda district on June 12, 2019. After this, the trial began, and in the meantime, the Telangana Rashtra Samiti government offered Amrutha 800,000 rupees, a government job, a house, and special farmland as compensation. However, Amrutha and Pranay's family refused everything except the 400,000 they had received for Pranay's funeral expenses. They made it clear that they only wanted justice, nothing else. However, on the other hand, due to the police filing a late charge sheet in court, 3 accused individuals benefited. In fact, all the accused had filed for bail while in jail. As a result, on April 27, 2019, just 8 months after their arrest, Maruthi Rao, his brother Shravan Rao, and Abdul Karim were granted bail. After that, these 3 individuals used their influence to stay out of jail for a long time and got busy with their daily lives. During this period, on March 7, 2020, Maruthi Rao went to Hyderabad's Khairatabad area with his driver for some work. There, he booked 2 separate rooms in a hotel, one for himself and one for his driver. Maruthi Rao stayed in room number 306 on the 3rd floor. Later in the evening on March 7th, he had a meeting over the phone with some businessmen and also spoke with his wife. Around 8 p.m., he went out to a restaurant for dinner. Before going to bed, he told his driver that they had to meet a lawyer at the High Court the next morning and instructed him to be ready by 8:30 a.m. The night of March 7th passed, and on the morning of March 8th, the driver went to Maruthi Rao's room at 8:30 a.m. as instructed and knocked on the door. However, Maruthi Rao did not open it. The driver then tried calling him, but he did not answer. Concerned, the driver eventually called Maruthi Rao's wife, Girja Rani, and informed her about the situation. Soon after, Girja Rani also tried calling him, and some hotel staff members gathered outside room number 306. When Maruthi Rao did not open the door for a long time, the hotel staff broke it down. Inside, they found Maruthi Rao lying lifeless on the bed. The hotel staff immediately informed the police. After investigating, the police sent Maruthi Rao's body to Osmania General Hospital for a post-mortem examination. The post-mortem report revealed that the cause of death was poisoning. During the police investigation, it became clear that Maruthi Rao knew he would lose the case and had become fearful of the disgrace it would bring. That is why, after being released on bail, he told his daughter Amrutha, "Withdraw the case because I deeply regret my actions." However, Amrutha remained firm in her decision, which led Maruthi Rao into depression. On the night of March 7th, he arranged for poison with the help of a friend who owned a fertilizer shop. Upon returning to his room, he first wrote a note apologizing to Amrutha and telling her, "Stay with your mother." After that, Maruthi Rao consumed the poison himself. When Maruthi Rao's last rites were being performed, his daughter Amrutha also arrived under police protection. However, some of her relatives stopped her, saying that Maruthi Rao had taken his own life because of her, and therefore she had no right to pay her last respects. A massive crowd had gathered for Maruthi Rao's funeral, and due to the opposition from people, Amrutha had to leave without seeing her father's body. Later, in an interview, Amrutha stated that her father could not have taken this step on his own, and that she believed his brother, Shravan Rao, might have pressured him to do so in order to claim the property. However, Shravan Rao later spoke to the media, stating that there was no dispute between the two brothers over property. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. The date was October 3rd, 2024, in the city of Hyderabad, located in the Indian state of Telangana. There lived a millionaire named Ramesh Kumar. The 54-year-old Ramesh Kumar was a businessman who had invested a significant amount of money in real estate and several other ventures, which had made him a millionaire. Ramesh was married to a 29-year-old woman named Niharika. On October 3rd, Niharika suggested to Ramesh that they should go for a drive, saying, "You're always busy with work and it's been a long time since we went on a long drive together. Now, for a businessman, time management is everything. Endless calls, meetings, and constantly thinking about strategies to expand the business." However, Ramesh loved his wife dearly, so he agreed to go on the long drive with her. He then took his red Mercedes-Benz out of the garage. Niharika got into the car and the two of them headed toward Uppal, another city in Telangana. After driving for about 45 minutes, Niharika told her husband that she was hungry and that she loved the food at Maan restaurant. Hearing this, Ramesh turned the car toward National Highway 163, which connects Uppal to Bhuvanagiri. They then went to the restaurant for a meal. Before moving forward, let me tell you that the Indian state of Telangana is famous for its rich artistic heritage and ancient dance traditions. The capital city, Hyderabad, is renowned for its rich history, iconic architecture such as Charminar, vibrant food culture famous for biryani, and its status as a major hub for the Telugu film industry, Tollywood. Meanwhile, as Niharika was enjoying her meal at her favorite restaurant with Ramesh, she spotted an old friend of hers, Ankur Rana. Upon making eye contact, Niharika greeted Ankur and introduced him to her husband, Ramesh. The three of them sat together and had a long conversation over their meal. Where once Ankur was just Niharika's friend, he now became Ramesh's friend as well. Because of this, after finishing their meal, Niharika invited Ankur to join them. At first, Ankur hesitated, but eventually he agreed. Ankur actually lived in the state of Haryana, nearly 1,085 miles away from Hyderabad. But he had come to the city to meet a friend for some business-related work. Ankur told Niharika, "My friend was supposed to pick me up, but since you're insisting so much, you can drop me off on the way." Ramesh had no objections to giving Ankur a ride in his car, as by that time he and Ankur had already bonded well. However, before leaving the restaurant, Niharika ordered 3 small glasses of juice for all of them. After drinking the juice, the three of them left in Ramesh's red Mercedes-Benz. Ramesh was driving, Niharika was in the passenger seat, and Ankur was seated in the back. As Ramesh was driving, he started feeling a headache, something that had never happened before. But as the pain intensified, he asked Ankur to take over the driving while he moved to the back seat to rest. As soon as Ramesh sat in the back within a minute or two, his eyes started closing, and he lost consciousness. Seeing this, Ankur pulled the car over to the side of the road. He then used Niharika's scarf to strangle Ramesh to death. Throughout this, Niharika was overjoyed, as this entire plan had been orchestrated by her. Ankur continued strangling Ramesh until he stopped breathing. But why did Niharika, the woman Ramesh loved the most, betray him in such a brutal manner? You'll find out in the rest of the video. But after killing Ramesh, Niharika and Ankur hide his dead body in the trunk of his own car. After that, Ankur takes control of the car again. Their goal now was to dispose of Ramesh's dead body in a place where no one would find it. However, while driving, their car runs out of fuel, forcing them to stop at a fuel station along the way. By this time, it was gradually getting dark, and that's when Niharika gets an idea and tells Ankur to drive toward Bengaluru. Once they reach Bengaluru, Niharika gives Ankur a specific location, which was a suburb of Bengaluru city, called Ramamurthy Nagar. Now, let me tell you that the distance between Hyderabad and Bengaluru is 355 miles, which takes about 10 hours to cover by car. Additionally, Hyderabad is located in the state of Telangana, while Bengaluru is in its neighboring state, Karnataka. Because of this, their journey included several toll plazas. However, despite everything, Niharika and Ankur were not afraid at all, and eventually they reached the Bengaluru suburb of Ramamurthy on October 4th. Once there, Niharika contacts another friend, Dr. Nikhil Maradi, who was a veterinarian. Niharika then tells Dr. Nikhil that she killed her husband a few hours ago and now needs his help to dispose of the body. Initially, Nikhil is shocked upon hearing this, but later he agrees to help Niharika and Ankur dispose of Ramesh's dead body. Nikhil knew of a place, a coffee estate, that was currently abandoned. A coffee estate is a large farm dedicated solely to coffee cultivation and production. The coffee estate Nikhil mentioned was in Karnataka's Kodagu district, which was 168 miles from Nikhil's home in Ramamurthy Nagar. Upon learning this, Niharika quickly tells Nikhil to get in the car, and once again, Ankur drives for about 6 hours from Bengaluru to Kodagu. So first, they travel from Hyderabad to Bengaluru, and then from Bengaluru to Kodagu. In the process of killing her husband, Ramesh, and disposing of his body, Niharika had covered a journey of approximately 530 miles, and Ankur had driven for 16 hours. Finally, on October 5th, Ankur, Nikhil, and Niharika arrive at a coffee estate in Kodagu. They find a secluded spot, take Ramesh's dead body out of the car's trunk, wrap it in a blanket, pour petrol over it, and set it on fire. Once they are convinced that the fire has destroyed Ramesh's facial identity, the three of them get back into the Mercedes-Benz and leave the place. After this, Niharika and Ankur drop off their third accomplice, Nikhil, at his home in Bengaluru, and then return to Hyderabad in Ramesh's car. Upon arriving, Niharika instructs Ankur to park Ramesh's car back in his garage and leave. She then goes to the police station near her home and files a missing person complaint for Ramesh. Niharika did this because she wanted to mislead the police investigation and divert suspicion away from herself. Meanwhile, the Telangana police form a team to search for Ramesh, but their efforts prove futile. This is because the Telangana police were searching for Ramesh in Hyderabad, while his dead body was rotting in the Kodagu district of Karnataka, a neighboring state of Telangana. But then, on October 8, 2024, locals spot a half-burnt dead body near the coffee estate. One of them calls a police station in Kodagu and reports that they have just found a half-burnt dead body of a man in the coffee plantation. The police then arrive at the crime scene, and upon seeing the body they realize that its condition is extremely deteriorated. Karnataka police then launch an investigation into the murder, starting with questioning the people living near the coffee plantation. However, after hours of questioning, they failed to find any eyewitnesses who had seen the murder happen with their own eyes. Now, the police have an unidentified body whose face is completely disfigured due to the fire. This makes it clear to Karnataka police that the case will not be easy to solve. As a result, they form 4 special investigation teams. One of these teams is assigned the sole task of checking the CCTV footage from the surrounding areas. During this process, the investigation team first comes across a CCTV camera located about a mile away from the coffee plantation. The police then decide to thoroughly examine the footage from this camera. After several hours of scrutinizing the footage, they finally get lucky and find a frame showing a red Mercedes-Benz heading toward the same coffee plantation where the half-burnt body was found. Following this lead, Karnataka police decide to check every CCTV camera installed along the route leading to the coffee plantation. When they review the footage from these cameras, they find that the red Mercedes-Benz has been captured by multiple CCTV cameras. This helps the police confirm that the red Benz was indeed heading toward the coffee plantation on October 5th. Karnataka police then note down the car's license plate number and check its registration details. They discover that the license plate is registered in Hyderabad, Telangana, and the car belongs to a man named Ramesh Kumar. With this information, Karnataka police seek help from Telangana police, and by the last days of the third week of October, they reach Ramesh's house. However, they find out that Ramesh Kumar had already been reported missing by his wife, Niharika. According to a report, the police reviewed over 500 CCTV camera footages in this case, before finally finding some clips that showed a woman and a man sitting inside Ramesh's car. Some of these clips were captured at toll plazas and along the Karnataka-Telangana border. Telangana police then show Ramesh's family the CCTV footage where a woman and a man are seen in Ramesh's car. The moment they see the footage, Ramesh's family immediately recognizes that the woman in the car is none other than Niharika. At this point, the police confirm that Niharika is indeed Ramesh's wife, but no one recognizes the man driving Ramesh's car, as no one knows anything about him. To make things more suspicious, when Karnataka police arrived at Ramesh's house, Niharika was not home. Given the statements from Ramesh's family, the suspicion of both state police forces now turns toward Niharika. When they track Niharika's location, they find out that she is still in Bengaluru. With this confirmation, Karnataka police return to Bengaluru and finally arrest Niharika on October 22nd, 2024. Actually, Niharika was living near Nikhil's house in Bengaluru. However, the police didn't even have to interrogate her too harshly because, before they could, she confessed that she had killed Ramesh. After this, she also revealed the whereabouts of their third accomplice, Dr. Nikhil, to the Karnataka police. The police then arrested Nikhil from his home and brought him to the police station for questioning, just like Niharika. Initially, both of them told the police the same story about Ramesh's murder that we had discussed earlier. Additionally, when the Karnataka police asked them who else was involved in Ramesh's murder, they revealed the name of their other accomplice, Ankur Rana. Following this, the police questioned Niharika about Ankur's location, but she repeatedly claimed she didn't know anything about it. However, after a few hours of continuous interrogation, she finally revealed that Ankur was hiding somewhere in Haridwar, Uttarakhand. With this information, the police began tracing Ankur's phone number, which eventually led them to his exact location. To put things in perspective, the distance from Bengaluru to Haridwar is 1,452 miles, which would take approximately 37 hours by car. Due to this, the Karnataka police sought the assistance of the Uttarakhand police, and with their help, Ankur Rana was arrested in Haridwar on October the 25th, 2024. With all three suspects now in custody, the police began investigating the motive behind Ramesh Kumar's murder. However, after several hours of questioning, they found that the root cause of Ramesh Kumar's death seemed to be Niharika's troubled childhood. Niharika came from a decent family that was financially well off. She was always a brilliant student and one of the top performers in her class. Her childhood was going well until tragedy struck. Her father passed away when she was still very young. This incident left a deep impact on her life. To make matters worse, before she could even finish her schooling, her mother remarried. After that, Niharika's stepfather didn't pay much attention to her, and over time even her mother became distant. Growing up in this environment, Niharika continued to excel in her studies and passed high school with excellent grades. As a result, she secured admission to a reputed engineering college, as she aspired to become a software engineer. In India, this bachelor's degree typically takes 4 years to complete, and during her third year of college, she fell in love with a man. There isn't much information available about him on the internet, But one confirmed detail is that the two of them got married during Niharika's final days of college. Surprisingly, at that time, Niharika was only 20 years old. After completing her degree, Niharika started applying to major IT companies, showcasing her skills and qualifications. Since Bengaluru is considered the IT hub of India, she eventually secured a job at a reputable IT company there. However, around this time, she once again faced personal challenges. She struggled to balance her married life with her hectic work schedule, leading to a quick divorce. Following this, she decided to refocus on her career, but during this period, she was also fired from her company. At that time, Niharika was going through a difficult phase in her life, and that's when she had to travel from Bengaluru to the northern Indian state of Haryana for work. During this period, Niharika met a man named Kamaldeep Saini from Karnal, Haryana, through a dating app. Kamaldeep was also a software engineer. Later, they started meeting in real life as well. But during these meetings, Niharika never told Kamaldeep anything about her past. Eventually, Kamaldeep fell in love with Niharika and proposed to her for marriage. Niharika also agreed to the relationship, and in 2019, the two got married. After this second marriage, Niharika decided to leave Bengaluru and settle in Haryana. For the next 2 years, everything went well in her life, but in 2021, she was arrested in Haryana for a financial fraud case. After marriage, things seemed to be going smoothly for Niharika, but then Kamaldeep accused her of defrauding him of more than 7 million Indian rupees. Kamaldeep claimed that Niharika had fabricated false stories about personal crises and, over time, took 7 million Indian rupees from him, which, according to today's conversion, amounts to $81,814. Additionally, Kamaldeep informed the police that Niharika had never told him about her first marriage before they got married, and he only found out the truth 2 years after their wedding. Following this, the Haryana police arrested Niharika and put her in a women's prison. While in jail, she met the mother of a man named Ankur Rana. The two developed a strong bond inside the prison, and Niharika shared her life story with her, how her childhood was full of struggles, what her experience was like in her first marriage, and why she was now in jail. After hearing Niharika's entire story, Ankur Rana's mother assured her not to worry and promised that once she was out of jail, her son Ankur would help her. A few months later, when Niharika was released from prison, the first person she met was 30-year-old Ankur Rana. After spending some time with him, Niharika fell in love with him as well, but by then her life was already in turmoil. Because of this, she decided to return to Bengaluru for work and soon secured a job at a company there. Coincidentally, during her time at this company, she met a man named Ramesh Kumar. At that time, Niharika was about 29 years old, but despite their 25-year age gap, Ramesh fell in love with her at first sight. However, he knew nothing about Niharika's past. The surprising thing was that Ramesh was already married and extremely wealthy, yet he was making every effort to impress Niharika. When Niharika noticed how much Ramesh cared for her and how much money he was spending on her, she had a change of heart once again. Over time, she realized that Ramesh was immensely rich, owning multiple houses, luxury cars, and being a successful real estate businessman. Upon learning all this, Niharika was no longer interested in Ankur and became attracted to Ramesh's wealth. She then started showing affection toward Ramesh, and eventually, the millionaire Ramesh proposed marriage to her, which Niharika accepted. After this, Ramesh divorced his first wife and left his children to live with her. Then Ramesh married Niharika, which was her third marriage. But after this wedding, Niharika started living the life of her dreams. She no longer had to go to an office every day. Even if she had to buy vegetables, she would switch between multiple cars to get there. Then came September 2024. That month, Ramesh sold his most expensive property, worth 80 million Indian rupees, or approximately $935,000. When Ramesh's second wife, Niharika, found out about this huge financial transaction, greed once again took hold of her. One day, when Ramesh returned home from work, Niharika asked him to transfer the 80 million rupees from the property sale to her name, but Ramesh refused, which made Niharika furious. Her anger grew like a wildfire, and she decided that in order to take full control of Ramesh's property, she would have to eliminate him. With this idea in mind, she began meticulously planning his murder step by step. However, Niharika needed at least one more person to help her execute the plan, and that's when she remembered her ex-boyfriend from Haryana, Ankur. Niharika called Ankur and told him that she wanted to kill her husband so that all of his property would be transferred to her. Once everything was in her name, they could get married, and Ankur would also become a millionaire. Hearing this, Ankur was thrilled and asked her what he needed to do. As part of her plan, Niharika called Ankur to Hyderabad on October 1st, 2024, 2 days before Ramesh's murder. In response to Niharika's invitation, Ankur traveled from Haryana to Hyderabad to assist in the killing. What's happening after that? We already discussed in the beginning of the video how Niharika took Ramesh on a long drive, introduced him to Ankur, drugged his juice to make him unconscious, and then murdered him. In the end, Niharika and her 2 accomplices were caught. But in her greed, Niharika not only killed Ramesh and destroyed his family's life, but also ruined the life of veterinarian Dr. Nikhil. As for Ankur, he was already on the wrong path, and in the end he got neither the money nor the chance to marry Niharika. As of the latest updates in November 2024, just a month after Ramesh Kumar's murder, a district court in Kodagu granted bail to Dr. Nikhil, citing his limited role in the crime. Meanwhile, Ankur Rana filed a bail petition in the Karnataka High Court, but the court rejected it, acknowledging his active involvement in the murder conspiracy. Apart from them, the main accused, Niharika, is still in custody. She faces charges of conspiracy, murder, and destruction of evidence. The case is still ongoing in court, and legal proceedings against the accused continue. We will keep a close watch on this case, and whenever there is a new update, we will share it in a community post on the David True Crime channel. Whenever someone commits a crime out of love, lust, or greed, if they take just a moment to think that once caught, they will be left with neither love nor wealth nor satisfaction. Perhaps many crimes could be prevented. In this case as well, if Niharika, Ankur, and Nikhil had thought about spending the rest of their lives in prison before committing the murder, they might not have killed Ramesh Kumar. But now, the main accused, Niharika and Ankur, will likely spend the rest of their lives behind bars. The very wealth, money they killed Ramesh for will now never be theirs. So with that, the Ramesh Kumar murder case comes to an end right here. If you appreciate our efforts, like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. On the morning of February 19th, 2025, the owner of a lodge in Jhansi, a town in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, headed toward the room of a guest who was supposed to check out that day. The lodge owner had gone there simply to inform the guest that it was time to vacate the room soon and that they should pack their belongings before the next guests arrived. A man and a woman were staying in this room, having come for the sacred Hindu pilgrimage during the Mahakumbh Mela of 2025, a grand event that occurs once every 12 years and lasts for 45 days. The lodge owner knocked on the door several times, but there was no response from inside. Moments later, he realized that the door was actually unlocked. He then pushed it open completely and stepped inside. However, he immediately noticed blood seeping out from under the bathroom door, and the sight left him in shock. Overcome with anxiety, he opened the bathroom door, and what he saw made him scream in horror. Lying on the floor, drenched in blood, was the lifeless body of a woman named Meenakshi. Terrified, the lodge owner ran to his room to grab his phone. His family members asked why he looked so shaken, but he didn't respond and quickly dialed the police. Just a few steps away from the lodge, people were taking their sacred baths at the Triveni Sangam as part of the Mahakumbh festival, but the news of this murder put the police on high alert. Upon reaching the crime scene, the officers immediately noticed that Meenakshi's throat had been slit with a sharp object. However, despite thoroughly searching the area for several minutes, they found no such weapon at the scene. The police then called an ambulance and the woman's body was transported to the hospital. Their next step was to determine who this woman was and when she had checked into the lodge. To get this information, they directly questioned the lodge owner, but their inquiry led to disappointment. The lodge owner explained to the police that he had temporarily converted his home into a budget-friendly lodge to accommodate visitors during the Mahakumbh. The Mahakumbh is a Hindu religious pilgrimage that attracts millions of people from across India. Although the Indian government makes arrangements for accommodation and food, some people still prefer to rent private rooms. As a result, many residents of Prayagraj had turned their homes into lodges to host pilgrims. This particular lodge, where Meenakshi was murdered, was set up in the same manner. However, when the police asked the lodge owner about the woman's identity, her origin, and whether she was accompanied by someone, he informed them that a man had been staying with her. But when the police requested identification records for both of them, the lodge owner admitted that he had not maintained any records of his guests. The police, however, were unable to take any action against him since it was not an official hotel. They also understood that due to the Mahakumbh festival, thousands of people booked rooms in such small lodges daily, making it practically impossible for owners to keep records of every guest. Anyway, I believe you now have a clear understanding of the entire situation. However, the biggest shock for the police came when they discovered that there wasn't a single CCTV camera in the entire house, or rather the lodge. This made it clear to the police that this case was going to be a blind case for them, where they had neither the victim's name nor any address. Moreover, the lodge owner informed the police that a man had checked in with the woman. So the overall story in front of the police was that on the night of February 18th, a woman stayed at the lodge with a man, and by the next morning her dead body was found. Additionally, neither the lodge owner nor any of the staff knew whether the two were husband and wife. In fact, at that time, no one knew the name of the deceased woman or the name of the man who had checked in with her. This meant that the police had zero information about the deceased woman. As a result, after conducting a basic examination of the dead body at the hospital, they sent it to the morgue. However, during this process, the police found a photograph of the woman among her belongings. Other than that, she had no ID proof with her. So the police used that one photograph, hoping that the news would reach her family, and created a missing person notice, posting it in newspapers and on social media. But since the police were also under immense pressure due to the Mahakumbh festival and had absolutely no information about the woman, they decided to postpone the investigation until February 26th after the festival concluded. Before moving forward, you need to understand Mahakumbh and the Grand Mahakumbh, as this grand festival has a deep connection with the case. A festival of faith, devotion, and an unimaginable crowd. This is the Kumbh Mela, held every 12 years at 4 sacred riverbank locations in India. Prayagraj, Haridwar, Ujjain, and Nashik. Devotees, saints, and pilgrims gather here to take a holy dip, believing that it washes away sins, purifies the soul, and grants liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Additionally, every 144 years, the Grand Mahakumbh Mela is held in Prayagraj, making it the rarest and most spiritually significant event. Millions of people participate in rituals, discourses, and cultural festivities, showcasing India's deep spiritual heritage. In such a massive crowd of millions, losing belongings is common. But nowadays, disappearing amidst such a crowd is not uncommon either. That's why on February 21st, 2025, a 22-year-old young man named Ashwini arrived in Prayagraj with his younger brother, Adarsh, and his maternal uncle. The three had traveled from Delhi to Prayagraj by train, a journey of about 9 hours. The reason for their visit was that Ashwini and Adarsh's mother had gone missing during the Mahakumbh festival. As soon as Ashwini got off at Prayagraj railway station with his brother and uncle, he immediately contacted the railway police. He told them, "My mother had come to the Mahakumbh festival a few days ago for a holy dip, but she went missing in this massive crowd. I found out about this through a newspaper article. I've also been trying to call my father, but he's not answering, so I'm extremely worried about both of them." Ashwini then asked the railway police officers for help. Upon seeing the news article, the officers asked Ashwini if he had any photos or videos of his mother. In response, Ashwini said, "My father had sent a video of my mother on WhatsApp just a few days ago, and this is that video." As soon as the railway staff watched the video, they immediately identified which ghat it was filmed at. Actually, due to the large number of pilgrims, the authorities divided the area around the river into different ghats, totaling 41 in number. Each ghat had a unique name, so as soon as the railway police officer saw the video, he immediately recognized the ghat where his parents had last recorded footage. The officer told Ashwini that the video seemed to have been shot near Junsi Ghat and suggested that he check with one of the lost and found centers there, which were helping locate missing people and belongings. Following the officer's advice, Ashwini, along with his brother Adarsh and their uncle, went to the lost and found centers near Junsi Ghat. However, they had no success because none of the centers had any information about the missing woman, around 40 years old. After failing everywhere, Ashwini decided to seek help from the Uttar Pradesh police along with his brother and uncle. That same day, Ashwini approached the Prayagraj police and informed them that his mother had gone missing during the Grand Mahakumbh festival a few days ago. He also showed the police a newspaper article, along with a photograph of his mother. However, the moment the officers saw the photo, they immediately recalled a dead body they had recovered from a lodge on February 19th. Still, to clear their doubts, the police took Ashwini, his brother, and their uncle along with them to identify the body. They then brought the three to the morgue for confirmation. The moment they saw the body in the morgue, Ashwini, Adarsh, and their uncle broke down in tears because the deceased woman was indeed Ashwini's missing mother, Meenakshi. This confirmed that the woman found dead in the lodge was the same Meenakshi whom Ashwini, Adarsh, and their uncle had come all the way from Delhi to find. Following this revelation, the police reopened the case, which they had initially planned to investigate only after the Mahakumbh event concluded. By now, the police were also certain that the murdered woman, Meenakshi, had 2 sons and a brother who had traveled to Prayagraj searching for her. Afterwards, some officers from the Prayagraj police questioned the three about how and when Meenakshi had arrived in Prayagraj. In response, Ashwini told them, "My mother, Meenakshi, and my father, Ashok, left Delhi on February 17th by train to travel to Prayagraj. They arrived in Prayagraj on the morning of February 18th and even called us after reaching there. Later that evening, my father, Ashok, uploaded a 28-second video as a WhatsApp story. That video confirmed that my parents had taken a holy dip in the river. Seeing that video made us very happy, so I even recorded a screen capture of it. Since approximately 660 million people attended the festival during its 45-day duration from January 13th to February 26th, 2025, many attendees must have posted stories on WhatsApp, Instagram, and other social media platforms. Even a friend of ours from India had visited the festival and uploaded stories from there. Similarly, Ashwini's father, Ashok, had also posted his WhatsApp story from the event. After hearing all this, the police asked Ashwini, "If your parents came to Prayagraj together, then where is your father?" So, in response, Ashwini told the police that in the early hours of February 19th, he received a call from his father. Ashok told him, "Last night, after your mother and I took a dip in the river, we were about to go look for a room. But suddenly, in the crowd, your mother's hand slipped out of mine, and after that, I had no idea where she went. She didn't have a phone with her either. I tried searching for her for nearly 4 to 5 hours at night, but I couldn't find her anywhere. I'm still looking for her, so don't worry. I'm not coming home until I find Meenakshi." Additionally, Ashok assured his son, Ashwini, saying, "When I find your mother, I will contact you all myself." After that, Ashok disconnected the call. Ashwini tried calling his father multiple times, but Ashok didn't answer even once. Hearing all this from his father made Ashwini extremely worried about his mother. He couldn't sleep at all after that, and he immediately informed his siblings and his maternal uncle, his mother's brother, about the situation. Ashwini then decided to travel to Prayagraj himself, and both his younger brother and uncle agreed to accompany him. However, when Ashwini narrated all this to the police officers, they were quite shocked. This was because, when they had spoken to the owner of the lodge where Meenakshi's body was found, the man had claimed that there was a man staying with her. The big question now was that Ashok had told his son that Meenakshi had gone missing at the Kumbh Mela on the night of February 18th. If that was the case, then who was the man with Meenakshi at the lodge? The lodge owner had neither Meenakshi's ID proof nor the man's. To determine who had accompanied Meenakshi that night, the police started reviewing CCTV footage from houses near the lodge. Their primary focus was on the footage from February 18th, around the time when Meenakshi and the unidentified man had checked in. After some effort, the police finally found a CCTV recording in which Meenakshi could be seen, along with a man accompanying her. The police then showed this footage to Meenakshi's 2 sons, and as soon as they saw it, they confirmed that the man was none other than their father, Ashok. This revelation was shocking for the police because Ashok had explicitly told his son Ashwini over the phone that Meenakshi had disappeared near the riverbank right after the holy dip. But in the CCTV footage, Ashok and Meenakshi could be seen holding hands and walking toward the very lodge where Meenakshi's dead body was later found. To clear up any doubts, the police showed the footage to the lodge owner as well. The most startling part was that after watching it, the lodge owner confirmed to the police, "Sir, this is the same woman who came here that day with this curly-haired man." With this new revelation, the biggest question now was, had Meenakshi been murdered by her own husband, Ashok? Even the Prayagraj police were now fixated on solving this mystery. But until Ashok was found, no answers could be confirmed. At this point, no one knew where Ashok was, whether he was alive or if he too had been murdered, just like Meenakshi. Ashok had neither returned home to Delhi nor was he found anywhere in Prayagraj. In fact, he hadn't even called his family again as he had said he would. Now, the Prayagraj police instructed Ashwini to message or call his father, Ashok, every 5 to 10 minutes or at least once or twice an hour. Additionally, the police told Ashwini that if his father answered the call, he should say, "Dad, I've come to Prayagraj to look for Mom, but I have no idea where to go. I'm standing near the Lost and Found Center at Shunsighat." Following the police's instructions, Ashwini kept messaging and calling his father. Coincidentally, after 2 days, around February 23rd or 24, Ashok finally answered his son's call. Ashwini then repeated exactly what the police had told him to say. In response, Ashok told his son, "Son, stay right there. I'll be there in a little while." Ashwini immediately informed the police, and after hearing this, plainclothes officers positioned themselves near Ashwini, waiting for Ashok. When Ashok finally arrived and met his son, the plainclothes officers swiftly arrested him. Since Ashok was alive and had stayed at the lodge with Meenakshi that night, and on top of that, he had lied to his son on the morning of February 19th, calling him and giving false information, the police now saw Ashok as the prime suspect in Meenakshi's murder. That's why they directly questioned him. Why did you kill Meenakshi? However, at first, Ashok kept insisting that he had not killed Meenakshi and was still searching for her. But by that time, he had already failed to prove his innocence because the police had CCTV footage showing him walking toward the lodge with Meenakshi. When the police showed Ashok the footage of him and Meenakshi checking into the lodge and questioned him more aggressively, he had no choice but to confess the truth. He admitted that he hated Meenakshi and had been planning her murder for 3 months, ever since the Grand Mahakumbh festival preparations had begun. Ashok then narrated the events of the night when he killed his wife, Meenakshi. His hatred for her was so intense that he had brought a knife all the way from his home in Delhi. As part of his plan, he deliberately did not carry any ID proof and even refused to let his wife bring hers. He pretended to take care of Meenakshi while secretly plotting her murder, step by step over the past 3 months. Ashok then went to take a dip in the sacred river, intentionally recording a video there. He even uploaded that video as his WhatsApp status so that the rest of the family would believe they were happy together. Later, after nightfall, he deliberately chose a place to stay where no ID proof was required, and there were no CCTV cameras. In reality, Ashok already knew that during the Mahakumbh festival, all the hotels in the area would be fully booked. Because of this, some local residents would rent out their rooms. These people only cared about money and, in their haste, wouldn't maintain any records. On top of that, they charged only around 500 Indian rupees per night, roughly $6. Ashok was looking for a house or lodge where no records were maintained and no CCTV cameras were installed so he could murder his wife. However, before finding the perfect place, he went to one such lodge, but they asked for an ID proof, so he immediately left. He also checked a few other places but saw that they had CCTV cameras installed, so he didn't even enter those lodges. Eventually, he found a lodge with no CCTV cameras and no requirement for ID proof. Ashok booked a room for one night, feeling confident that after killing Meenakshi, the police would not be able to catch him. According to Ashok, he neither provided any ID proof at the lodge nor was there any camera installed there. After that, he happily took Meenakshi to the room, and within a few minutes he deliberately started an argument with her. When Meenakshi tried to escape the fight and moved toward the bathroom, Ashok seized the opportunity, grabbed her from behind, and slit her throat with a knife he had brought. The wound was so deep that after struggling for a few minutes, Meenakshi succumbed to her injuries. Ashok then waited for the morning, sitting beside her lifeless body. During this time, he washed the blood-stained knife and put his blood-splattered clothes in a plastic bag. In the early hours of February 19th, when everyone was asleep, Ashok left the lodge and disposed of the murder weapon and his bloody clothes in a dustbin to eliminate evidence. Moments later, he called his son Ashwini and told him that Meenakshi had been missing since last night and that he was trying his best to find her. But this was all a lie, and if Meenakshi's 2 sons and her brother had not come looking for her, Ashok's horrific plan might have succeeded. After hearing the entire story, the police asked Ashok why he was so angry at Meenakshi that he decided to kill her. He then revealed the real reason behind the murder. Ashok and Meenakshi had been married for almost 25 years and had 3 children. Their family lived in the Trilokpuri area of Delhi, where Ashok worked as a sanitation worker for the Delhi Municipal Corporation, while Meenakshi was a homemaker. However, for the past few months, their fights had become frequent. Arguments between a husband and wife are common in any marriage, and they are considered a normal part of life. When a man and a woman live under the same roof for a long time without financial struggles, occasional conflicts are inevitable. However, in Ashok and Meenakshi's case, their fights were different because the main reason behind them was Meenakshi's suspicion that Ashok was cheating on her. Meenakshi believed that Ashok was involved in an extramarital affair, which led to constant arguments between them. Ashok always denied these allegations and tried to divert Meenakshi's attention to end the arguments. In marriage, a husband and wife must handle all situations together for their and their children's future. Sometimes they even have to compromise or adjust. This was also happening in Ashok and Meenakshi's marriage. Despite their countless fights, Meenakshi didn't want their marriage to fall apart. She always hoped that one day Ashok would change. Actually, Ashok would sometimes shower so much love on his wife, Meenakshi, that it made her feel as if he was changing for the better. One such joyful moment for Meenakshi came when Ashok told her that he would take her to the Mahakumbh festival in Prayagraj. Hearing this, Meenakshi was overjoyed because, for any Hindu family, attending the Mahakumbh is a big deal. Moreover, this grand Mahakumbh was happening after 144 years, and the next one wouldn't take place until the year 2169. However, Meenakshi had no idea that her happiness about attending the Mahakumbh would soon turn into the silence of death. In reality, Meenakshi was absolutely right about Ashok's extramarital affair. Ashok was indeed involved with a sanitation worker from his department. When Meenakshi found out, she started confronting Ashok about it, but this only fueled his hatred toward her even more, leading to constant arguments between them. After all, no woman would ever want another to take her husband away from her, but Ashok had already made up his mind. He wanted to marry the other woman. What's shocking is that he was having these thoughts, despite the fact that his 2 sons had already crossed their teenage years, and one of them was in the final phase of his teenage years. But of course, Meenakshi would never let Ashok marry another woman. That's why, starting in October 2024, Ashok began plotting to get rid of Meenakshi. However, he wanted a plan that would make her death appear accidental to their family, relatives, and neighbors. He wanted this so that, after Meenakshi's death, people would still see him as a respectable man, allowing him to marry his girlfriend without raising suspicion. That's when the idea struck him: to kill his wife at the Mahakumbh itself. This thought alone is horrifying because, while people believe that bathing in the sacred river will cleanse not only their bodies but also their sins, evil-minded individuals like Ashok see such events as opportunities to commit crimes. When the Mahakumbh reached its peak season on February 17, 2025, Ashok boarded a train from Delhi to Prayagraj with Meenakshi. Before leaving, he had already bought a knife from Delhi, thinking that he might not find a sharp one in Prayagraj on short notice. Following his plan, Ashok took a dip in the river and posted a video of it as his WhatsApp story. Then he booked a lodge that did not require an ID proof and had no security cameras. On the night of February 18th, Ashok and Meenakshi got into another argument about his extramarital affair. During this fight, Ashok murdered Meenakshi. To maintain his image as an innocent man, he then called his son. What happened next we have already discussed. Ashok committed such a heinous crime in a sacred place that now, no matter what, even God will never forgive him. For now, the update in this case is that the trial is ongoing, with the prosecution seeking the maximum sentence for Ashok. This trial is expected to be lengthy, and if there are any new updates in the future, we will definitely share them in the community posts of the David True Crime channel. But for now, let us know your thoughts on this case in the comment box below. So with that, the Meenakshi murder case comes to an end right here. If you appreciate our efforts, like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Thank you.